Jai Gurudev. Hope you did your homework. We'll continue further with the story. Today's part is mostly story on this page. So let's listen carefully in the first read itself. I will not be reading out the story part. I'll just read out the most important highlights in this. Yeah. So we'll start with page 348 now.
The hunter asked, "How shall I ever rest in the self?" The sage replied, "You have no doubt set out to attain self-knowledge, but you have not found your foothold on sound wisdom. You wish to get out of this world appearance, and with this end in view, you wish to know its extent. In order to ascertain this, you are engaged in penance. You will continue to perform such penance for several world cycles. Then the Lord will appear before you. He will grant you the boon of a long life in good health and the ability to travel at will in space in order to explore the extent of creation. You will see countless universes and then realize that just as all this is unreal and diverse in the eyes of the ignorant, they are real and indivisible to the enlightened. You will then abandon your body. That which is inevitable cannot be averted by anyone at any time. It is not altered by any amount of effort. Your body will fall crushing the earth by its sheer size and weight. The godless known as dryness, Kalaratri, will consume that body and thus purify the earth. Your jiva will behold the entire world as you see the world in your dream. It will then regard itself as King Sindhu, whose kingdom is invaded by King Viduratha. On account of this thought, there will be a fierce battle between you two. You will kill Viduratha and become the king of the whole world. Your minister will reveal to you that Viduratha did not win the battle because he had paid for liberation, and that you did not pray for liberation because your impure heart had craved for victory over enemies and so on. The minister will exhort you. Yesterday's evil action is transformed into good action by today's noble deeds. Therefore, strive to be good and do good now. When you hear this, you will renounce the world, and through the association of holy ones, you will attain the highest wisdom and liberation. Bhasa continued. The fire god disappeared after narrating the story of that being whose corpse fell down. However, I was still caught in the deer body. I met Indra, the king of heaven, who revealed to me my true identity. Once a hunter pursued me, overpowered me, and brought me to you to serve as your pet, O Rama. Limitless is this ignorance with countless branches in all directions. It cannot come to an end by any means other than self-knowledge. Strange and wonderful is this Maya, which is perplexing and which gives rise to delusion in the mind, and in which thesis and antithesis exist together without conflict or contradiction. Every inch of space is filled with the creations of dead jiva. Such worlds are countless. They are unseen. They exist all together without any contradiction or conflict. This universe appears in Brahman and ceases to be the next moment, for Brahman alone is real.
Okay, so the hunter is now interested in knowing, will he ever rest in the self, and how will that happen? So I will not read the whole story as how he reaches there, but he soon will get there. Yeah, just the most important lines of jnana. Look at the bold line in the first paragraph. That which is inevitable cannot be averted by anyone at any time. It is not altered by any amount of effort. What is inevitable? That this body and this creation will end. Everything and every one of us has an expiry date set. We don't know when the expiry date is, but it is set. And it will definitely come to an end. This is inevitable. How much ever effort you put, whatever you do, you cannot change it. So now that you understand death cannot be changed, understand the process of death also cannot be changed. What is the meaning of process of death? Aging of this body. Accepting the aging of the body as it happens. The weakness in the mind, the alertness becoming weak, the memory becoming weak. All this is a part of aging. Yeah. So just like death and aging are inevitable, remember whatever samskaras that you were born with in this particular lifetime were inevitable. The only thing that you could have changed were by not reacting to those particular samskaras that come up. Yeah? By being very equanimous and sakshi, you do not create samskaras for the next body. That is the only free will. Besides that, this body and the destruction of this body, including its aging, is inevitable and cannot be altered even by self-effort. So, in the first paragraph, he tells him how he is going to die and how he is going to be reborn as a king, and because again he has the vasana of victory, he will win. You create your own future. So his minister also tells him, your minister will reveal to you that Viduratha did not win the battle because he had prayed for liberation, and that you did not pray for liberation because your impure heart had craved for victory over enemies, and so on. What does this statement tell you? That whatever you crave for, whatever you want will definitely come to you. Why? Because the higher law of this universe wants you to learn this lesson that despite attaining, despite achieving all that you crave for, you will not find rest and happiness and peace in that particular object. Peace is not outside, peace is within. And till the time you don't learn this, you will keep getting what you have desired for. Which also means if I have a particular fear, this should not happen, that also will materialize. Do you see what I'm saying? Only ragas don't materialize, dveshas also materialize. Both ragas and dveshas speak in the same language to the universe. There is no I want and I don't want. Universe does not understand English. The same language is that magnetic attraction, your pull, your attachment, and that speaks to the universe and that comes to you. If you really pray for liberation, liberation will come to you. But if you pray for running after material things in this world, so be it. You will get that, but you will not be at peace. The minister will exhort you. Yesterday's evil action is transformed into good action by today's noble deeds. So this is something you need to highlight and bring it into your daily lives. It's okay what I did in the past, I cannot change that. But now, in this moment, if I have a chance to change something by doing good, I must never ever fail. Yeah? Never ever miss out on that chance. Therefore, strive to be good and do good now. And when he heard this, then he started striving for the highest wisdom and liberation. And then Bhasa's story continues. You remember this is a story inside a story. And finally, the most important part here is in this last but one paragraph. O Rama, limitless is this ignorance. with countless branches in all directions. It cannot come to end by any means other than self-knowledge. Yeah? So some people were asking me that on the path, on the Jnana Yoga path, there is self-knowledge. But does this mean on the path of Bhakti and Karma Yoga, there is no self-knowledge? No. Then you will get attached only to that ritualistic thing that you were so involved in on the path of Bhakti. Then you will never reach the end goal. Even on the path of Bhakti, self-knowledge that comes out of your own surrender, out of your own samarpan, is the end product that takes you to the final goal. Very clear? On the path of jnana, surrender happens because of the self-knowledge. It's just a matter of where they are in the sequence. But everything walks together. Same for a karma yogi. If there is no knowledge or self-knowledge coming out of his seva, he gets stuck in that seva. Then there is doership. See, I served so many people. Oh, I am so good. Then that doership takes away his chance of liberation. The only way he can get liberated is by his own self-knowledge of dropping doership. Very clear? So self-knowledge is the last milestone. Then you have entered into the door of liberation. Unless self-knowledge happens, you cannot even reach the door of liberation. Very clear? Strange and wonderful is this Maya, which is perplexing and which gives rise to delusion in the mind, and in which thesis and antithesis exist together without conflict or contradiction. Every inch of space is filled with the creations of dead jiva. Such worlds are countless, unseen, exist all together without any contradiction or conflict. This universe appears in Brahman and ceases to be the next moment, for Brahman alone is real. Yeah, this page is very clear. We'll move on to page 349 now.
Vasistha continued. From the Supreme Brahman, the mind first arose with its faculty of thinking and imagination, and this mind remains as such in that Brahman, even as fragrance in a flower, as waves in the ocean, and as rays of light in the sun. Brahman, which is extremely subtle and invisible, was forgotten, as it were, and thus arose the wrong notion of the real existence of the world appearance. If one thinks that the light rays are different and distinct from the sun, to him the light rays have a distinct reality. If one thinks that a bracelet made of gold is a bracelet, to him it is indeed a bracelet and not gold. But if one realizes that the light rays are non-different from the sun, his understanding is said to be unmodified, nirvikalpa. If one realizes that the waves are non-different from the ocean, his understanding is said to be unmodified, nirvikalpa. If one realizes that the bracelet is non-different from gold, his understanding is said to be unmodified, nirvikalpa. He who sees the display of sparks does not realize that it is but fire. His mind experiences joy and sorrow as these sparks fly up and scatter on the ground. If he sees that the sparks are but fire and non-different from it, he sees only fire, and his understanding is said to be unmodified, nirvikalpa. He who is thus established in the nirvikalpa is indeed a great one. His understanding does not diminish. He has attained whatever is worth attaining. His heart does not get enmeshed in the objects. Hence, O Rama, abandon this perception of diversity or objectification and remain established in consciousness. Whatever the self contemplates is materialized on account of the inherent power in the consciousness. That materialized thought then shines as if independent. Thus, whatever the mind, which is endowed with the faculty of thought, contemplates materializes instantly. This is the origin of diversity. Hence, this world appearance is neither real nor unreal. Even as sentient beings create and experience diverse objects in their own daydreams, this world appearance is the daydream of Brahman. When it is realized as Brahman, then the world appearance is dissolved. For from the absolute point of view, this world is non existent. Brahman remains as Brahman and it does not create something which was not already in existence. O Rama, whatever you do, know that it is nothing but pure consciousness. Brahman alone is manifest here as all this, for naught else exists. There is no scope for this and the other. Therefore, abandon even the concepts of liberation and bondage. Remain in the pure, egoless state, engaging yourself in natural activity.
Okay. From the Supreme Brahman, the mind first arose with its faculty of thinking and imagination, and the mind remains as such in that Brahman, even as fragrance in a flower, waves in the ocean, rays of light in the sun. Brahman, which is extremely subtle and invisible, was forgotten, as it were, and thus arose the wrong notion of the real existence of the world appearance. This is the summary of entire Yoga Vasistha in one short paragraph. Yeah, definitely an exam question. Yeah. Just that thinking, the mind, the I which arose, created this entire dream. Yeah. And Brahman was forgotten because Brahman identified with that. It lost its own identity. And this mind remains as such in the Brahman, even as fragrance in a flower. And then what happens? Brahman, which is subtle and invisible, is forgotten. And that's how the wrong notion arises. If one thinks that the light rays are different and distinct from the sun, to him the light rays have a distinct reality. If one thinks that a bracelet made of gold is a bracelet, to him it is indeed a bracelet and not gold. But if one realizes that the light rays are not different from the sun, his understanding is said to be unmodified, nirvikalpa. Question number 1, homework number 1. Do you have nirvikalpa understanding of everything that is around you? Or do you still see them in parts? Can you see it as a whole, or are you still lost in the parts? Check, check, check. If one realizes that the waves are not different from the ocean, his understanding is said to be unmodified, that is nirvikalpa. If one realizes that the bracelet is not different from gold, his understanding is said to be unmodified or nirvikalpa. He who sees the displays of sparks does not realize that it is but fire. His mind experiences joy and sorrow as the sparks fly up and scatter on the ground. If he sees the sparks are but fire and non-different from it, he only sees fire, and his understanding is said to be unmodified. The most important part there is he experiences joy and sorrow only till the time he sees the sparks different from the fire. Yeah? Till the time I see, oh, this person is like this and has done this to me, and that person is like that and has done that to me, I will suffer. I'm not suffering because of what things they have done. I am suffering because of my wrong understanding. The moment I see it is just rajas and pitta very high in this person, and in this person it is just vata which is playing, and these elements are interacting with my elements and causing this botheration. When I just see you, it's just a play and display of Rajas, Tamas, Sattva and Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which is a part of this entire universe, of this entire organism, of which I am a little part. So the entire microorganism shakes, I shake. Oh. The moment you wake up to this, the moment you wake up to this realization that it is all a play and display of Brahman, then your joy and sorrow drops off. You are at peace. Peace is a state which is beyond joy and of course beyond sorrow. Yeah? There is no excitement of joy there. There is just that balance, that calmness, that peace. And then it reflects from your personality. It reflects all around you and radiates all around you. Yeah? Homework for you. Are you still stuck in joy and sorrow, or have you attained the peace that comes from me, Nirvikalpa? He who is thus established in the Nirvikalpa is indeed a great one. His understanding does not diminish. He has attained whatever is worth attaining. His heart does not get enmeshed in the objects. Enmeshed in the objects means, again, not getting attached with this little thing, that little possession. You buy a new phone, oh, my phone, my car, my house, my wife, my husband, my child. See how much you are enmeshed in this external world of people, situations and things. The moment you unhook from them, it does not mean you run away to the Himalayas. You are with them, living in that world, but you are not heavily attached to them. Yeah? If they are, they are. If they are not, so be it. It doesn't matter. Yeah? Then this enmeshing drops away. Yeah? You are free. Hence, Surama abandoned this perception of diversity or objectification and remain established in consciousness. Whatever the self contemplates is materialized on account of the inherent power in the consciousness. Again, this is the law of attraction. Whatever you want, you always get. That materialized thought then shines as if independent. And then you feel, oh, I did it, I got it, this happened to me. Awesome. Thus, whatever the mind, which is endowed with the faculty of thought, contemplates, materializes instantly. This is the origin of diversity. Exam question. What is the origin of diversity? Hence, this world appearance is neither real nor unreal. Even as sentient beings create and experience diverse objects in their own daydreams, this world appearance is the daydream of Brahman. We saw that last week. Yeah, whatever happens in the macrocosm affects little jivas like us. So basically, this is the daydream of Brahman. When it is realized as Brahman, then the world appearance is dissolved. For from the absolute point of view, this world is non-existent. It does not exist in the first place, just like your dream. Yeah, it did not exist in the first place, but when you were in the dream, you were like, oh my God, so much this is happening, that is happening, and you're actually experiencing the emotion, the body is sweating, that nightmare is so real. But the moment you wake up in the morning, it's all over. It didn't exist. Yeah? Similarly, Brahman is all that exists. This creation is non-existent. The world is non-existent. Brahman remains as Brahman, and it does not create something which was not already in existence. O Rama, whatever you do, know that it is nothing but pure consciousness. This is the homework that Vasistha is giving you. Yeah? Whatever you do, know that it is nothing but pure consciousness. Brahman alone is manifest here as all this, for naught else exists. There is no scope for this and the other. Therefore, abandon even the concepts of liberation and bondage. Remain in the pure egoless state, engaging yourself in natural activity. Here, natural activity is very important. He's not telling you to wear a robe and run away to the Himalayas. You can wear a robe for 4 days and experience what is a monastic life. But you go back to what really is the life that has already been chosen for you by Niyati so far. Yeah? So, you continue your daily activities, and in whatever you do, you see Brahman. Yes? We'll do the next page, page 350.
Vasistha continued. Once upon a time, I desired to renounce all the activities of the world and to meditate in total seclusion. Where could I find a suitable place? Having abandoned the forests, cities, oceans, and caves, which are full of distractions, I went into outer space, but found that it was also subject to distractions by celestials. I went further to a lonely spot in which I imagined a hermitage. 100 years passed in a twinkling of an eye. For when one is deeply absorbed in contemplation, the passage of time is not noticed. As I returned to body consciousness, I heard a sigh. In order to discover its nature, I entered into Samadhi again. In the infinite consciousness, I saw reflected the image of countless universes which were diverse in composition and time-space structure. In one of them, I saw a woman, the source of the sound, who saluted me. I ignored her and continued to investigate the diversity of the universes. I saw that space and consciousness alone existed, in which you look at something and say, this is such and experience it as such. On account of this, there is infinite diversity. In some universes, moonlight is hot, sunlight cool. There is sight in darkness and blindness in daylight. Good is destructive and evil constructive. Poison promotes health and nectar kills, in accordance with the notions that arise in consciousness. In some, there are no women. In some, the beings do not possess one or more of the senses, and there are only one or two elements. It cannot be said that I remained at one spot or that I roamed about, for I had attained infinite consciousness. I witnessed all this within the self, which had assumed the form I witnessed, just as you see different parts of your body at night with eyes closed. The lady and I had bodies made of pure imaginary space. This is true of all bodies, yet we experience them as if they are real and solid, even as we experience substantiality of dream objects. It is because of the very nature of infinite consciousness that these space bodies seem to exist. Their reality is, of course, the sole reality, Brahman. Everything exists everywhere, at all times, as the pure, indivisible consciousness. In the infinite play of the infinite, there are infinite minds with infinite worlds in them. In every one of them, there are continents and mountains, villages and cities inhabited by people who have their own time, space, scale, and lifespan. When these jiva reach the end of their lifespan, if they are not enlightened, they continue to exist in infinite space, creating their own dream worlds. Within them, there are other people within whom are minds. Within those minds are worlds in which there are more beings ad infinitum. This illusory appearance has no beginning and no end. It is Brahman and Brahman alone. O Rama, in all these diverse objects, there is nothing but pure consciousness.
That is such a beautiful description of the Brahman. Yeah? There's really not much for me to read out to you here. It's just such a beautiful description. I'll give you homework to read this page again, slowly, by yourself. He just went into outer space looking for a place to meditate, and what did he see there? Just space and Brahman. And whatever your mind thinks of, it creates. And there are many, many minds, and every mind has a little world of its own, and every world has minds, and then those minds have worlds, and then those worlds have minds, and it goes on and on and on. The bold sentence on this page: within them are other people, within whom are minds, within those minds are worlds, and in which there are more beings ad infinitum. This is so beautiful, so interesting. When you go into meditation, in that silence of the being, all this can be experienced. It is not experienced as an imagination, but when you go into that absolute silence, you will see that one little thought that disturbs that stillness materializes into something. You will actually see how a particular thought, even if you get a thought of, okay, my head is going to start paining, it will start paining. Or my hand is going to itch, it will start itching. Whatever you think really materializes. In the deepest meditation, you will be able to experience this as a truth. Whatever the mind is, that becomes the world. Whatever your little thought is, it creates that reality. So mind creates that world. In that world, there is another mind, and that mind creates another world, and it goes on and on and on. So today's last homework is to actually sit and meditate and see if you can sit that long, maybe an hour or two, to go and hit that rock bottom silence where the mind becomes absolutely still, absolutely quiet. There are not many thoughts. And when you reach that kind of stillness, after a while, in that stillness, when the first thought appears, you will see its first manifestation. And it will become absolutely clear that, what Vasistha is saying is really, really true. But this can only be experienced if you meditate. Are you meditating? If not, start now. Okay? So I will see you next week. Until then, meditate.